In this segment, I'd like to describe the model of leadership which leads to process excellence. The traditional model of leadership is the so-called command and control model, where a few senior leaders do the majority of the thinking for the organization, and they tell the organization what to do. And the role of frontline staff and management is to do and to report back. With respect to process, the command and control model is predicated on the belief that a few people, senior people, can not only design the process, but make changes and improvements in that process better than allowing the frontline staff to do that. The converse of this approach is the empowerment model, where we're literally flipping the pyramid around. And in this model, the role of leaders is to define the what of the organization, what the strategy is, for example, and to communicate the why this strategy, why a certain change is required. And the role of these leaders is to empower frontline staff and frontline managers to figure out how the process is run and how to improve it. So frontline leaders are given the budget, the time, the tools, the supports for ongoing problem solving of the process. One of the reasons why the empowerment model is much more effective and leads to process excellence is, firstly, its ability to respond to a accelerating rate of change in the environment, in customer or client requirements. In the command and control model, change occurs, but firstly, leaders who have scarce amount of time have to make some time to figure out how to redesign and improve a process. They are removed from the process, so they lack a lot of the tangible day-to-day evidence of where the process is failing. If frontline staff have ideas, they can submit them, but it has to go through this process of going up the hierarchy. These ideas may get filtered out. They might be acted upon, but in the time span between the idea generation and its final approval and implementation, you can have quite a lengthy delay. Whereas in the empowerment model, it's predicated on the belief that we want to empower frontline staff and management to observe and to act much more quickly, much more nimbly to changes in the environment, changes in customer demand. So a responsiveness to rates of change and an increasing rate of change is one case for the empowerment model with respect to process and other things. The second reason is the war for talent. I think it's interesting that although we continue to read about staff being let go from organizations due to technological change, et cetera, like automation, I believe that this only makes the remaining staff even more valuable because the roles and jobs that the staff are performing in organizations is increasingly more value added by definition, because the lower value added jobs are being automated. So in the command and control model, we have this tremendous effort to recruit, to train, to retain valuable, scarce talent who are not being leveraged to their fullest potential. They have to do what they're told. And so, firstly, from a return on investment, from a return on that human capital, you're under-leveraging that talent. Whereas in the empowerment model, we are deliberately bringing in people whose ideas we want to harness and where they have the authority within guardrails to act upon those with much less bureaucracy. So even if an organization with this type of leadership model perhaps pays less than this organization, in my experience, the talent will tend to migrate from these command and control type situations towards organizations that truly have more empowerment. And a third reason, the empowered customer or client. Many of us are carrying around now the equivalent of a supercomputer in our pockets, which give customers access to data and information, to networks, the ability to complain about service that they and we've never had before. When an empowered customer comes into contact with a command and control organization, you can imagine, and many of you have probably felt yourselves, the frustration of that, because this frontline staff, even if they want to help, they are very restricted in what they can do. Whereas those same customers encountering a more empowered frontline staff who can make decisions and changes in response to circumstances more flexibly, usually results, all things being equal, in a greater experience and satisfaction of those customers with that organization. So at least 3 reasons why to pursue process excellence, organizations need to move from a command and control model to an empowerment model. And I'll just finish on this note. We talk a lot about transformation, but I find that most of the time when people talk about transformation, they do so with technology in mind or some new application. What this is talking about is a transformation of leadership, of an organizational design, of mindsets, of culture, which is as important as any technological transformation.